Gentlemen, talk us through it.
I think you mentioned injuries. If you go through last year's team, he's been with injury at the moment. Zach Lomax injured, Brian To'o, Mitchell Moses, Cam Murray. So that's going to be the real key. You talk about 6 weeks. 6 weeks is a long time in footy.
We both agree Latrell Mitchell, left centre. Nathan Cleary, if he's fit, without a doubt, will come back in. I think him and Jerome getting back together, going through marriage counselling, getting back together. It'll be. So I like Mitch Barnett. I like him in the front row. Get out there and toil away, make his tackles. A real effort front rower. Isaiah Yeo, obviously, starting at lock.
Then the bench, Hudson Young, Hamoli Olakau'atu. So what we're missing is obviously the captain's not there, Jake. I think they were playing Jake last year for 20 minutes. And whether they need more out of front rowers in this series. Hudson Young, he's someone who could fit in very Cam Murray-like, I think. I think he could actually take that role on where he come on a bit of speed through the middle.
It reminds me of Anthony Watmar, probably in every way. A bit mad too. But I reckon when Hudson comes onto the field, I reckon around the ruck with those tied forwards, getting in behind the markers, I reckon he'd be a handful. Olakau'atu picks himself. And I think with Hudson too, he can also play in the centres. He's got the speed to play in the centres if there's an injury out wide.
The back rowers, Liam and Angus, well, their teams haven't won that many games. Their form hasn't been too bad. Liam Martin, he's had some big moments this year, but I think obviously Penrith only winning one game. It's been a pretty tricky season for them. Angus Crichton as well. I think there you got good support, as in back rows. Hamoli Olakau'atu, he is an absolute handful.
No one can tackle him at the moment.
What about a fullback? Dylan.
Well, his groin is a worry. He had it strapped heavily last week against the Dolphins. If Dylan wasn't fit, I think I'd probably go with James Tedesco. I think he's in sensational form. Pappenhausen, he would be great there with his support play, but I just think Tedesco is a little bit more robust, bringing the ball back. In great form, Teddy.
What about your captain? There's a few club captains in the lineup there. Who would you get to skip at the side?
Well, I reckon it's time Nathan.
Yeah, I reckon Nathan
takes the
for
captain.
sure.
It's about
How old's
time.
Nathan? 26?
Going on 27. I think he's born November. So I think he's possibly 27 at the end of the year. So I think it's his time. Keep talking about, for him to most likely get to that next level is doing it through Origin. He's won a couple of series already. Doing it as captain, I think he'd be quite appropriate.
I think Connor Watson picks himself in 14. Always does a great job when he comes on the field. I think this year for the Roosters, whenever he goes into that middle, he's so dangerous with his speed and strength. But yeah, it's Nathan's time. I totally agree, Freddie. I reckon he should be captain for sure.
You mentioned Jake Trbojevic there before. Obviously, he was captain last year. I've heard the Michael Maguire speak just about how much Jake brought, but do you think that this year he does miss out on the field?
Well, when you've got Jake there, he loves playing, and obviously State of Origin is the pinnacle for him. I remember when he first toured with Cam Smith and JT and all those blokes, and I remember talking to his parents saying, he must have been a real thrill for him to meet them. And he goes, Aaron Woods and Clem, Like, he just loves, that's what he loves. And when he walks in, you know straight away that his total commitment and passion is to the team. It's just whether they played him 20 minutes last year, whether you can take that into, a series thinking that way. And I'm sure the coach had that in his mind when they set out.
I just think Mitch Barnett has got a bit more punch in attack. But he could play that Jake Trbojevic role defensively. But I just think in attack, Mitch Barnett's got a bit more punch.
And do you think maybe as well, different coaches, obviously, he loved what Jake brought. Maybe Laurie might put a little bit more emphasis on other things?
Well, Laurie's definitely come in with his own spin. The fullback's the other one. If Dylan is injured, you talk about Pappenhausen. Like, I don't see like electric speed. There's not like that bloke who's going to score tries from halfway. Latrell gives you that coming out of trouble a little bit just because he's explosive and he comes up with something brilliant. And that's one thing that Queensland really have. They have a lot of, Hamaso and blokes like that who can just create tries out of nowhere. So that becomes your Pappenhausen, someone who can do that.
And the injury cloud above a couple of players
We
there.
have about 6 of them.
Yeah, Zach Lomax, he is racing the clock to be back fit 1 week before Game 1 of State of Origin. We know Brian To'o, he's had some hamstring injuries as well.
When's Brian back, do we know? I think Lomax only needs to play 1 game, and I'd put him straight back in. He was unbelievable last year.
Campbell Graham's back this week. When you look at right wingers, and you were talking about Jack Bostock, who's having a fine year. You got Jason Saab's a right winger. Campbell Graham's a right winger. Stephen Crichton, the man with the ball there, he plays right centre, but's played on the wing. So there's a few there that could sort of fit into that role.
What about Bostock? You like him?
He's a good player.
Yeah, I like him too.
I do think Campbell Graham at the moment, it'll be interesting how he goes coming back this week. I think he's just played bigger games from a point of view. He's played for Australia before. We picked him in Origin a couple of years ago and he actually had a sore sternum and never played another game that year, but he's definitely got a lot of potential, Bostock. Great under the high ball.
I like Bostock with his strength, bring the ball out of trouble, and he's a natural winger.
Yeah,
I wouldn't be picking anyone out of position as a winger.
Yeah.
Talk about
Crichton.
No. Defensively, it's such a specialised position. Bostock also is a great athlete. He's well over, 6'2", 6'3".
You know what he does? He does that well. Mate, he reads defence awesome.
Brings the ball out
Came
of
in
trouble.
a couple of times on the weekend against Penrith and stopped the ball.
I want to get your thoughts on this Queensland side. Do you think that we're going to be seeing many changes? Do you think Reece Walsh, he stays in the number 1 jersey, or
No,
is it
I think
Collins?
Kalen plays fullback. Well, depending, he's dipped a little bit, Kalen. He has to, next 6 weeks, fire up a bit. I think Gagai won't be there. I think Val Holmes will go into the centres.
Murray Tuolangi's having a good year.
Murray Tuolangi on the wing.
Put him to the wing. They're both right wingers. Well, I'd have, if you got Murray Tuolangi, then Xavier Coates.
Munster back?
Munster goes in 5'8". And the front row, Mo Fatawaker and Felice Kafusi.
Big Tino.
Tino will be there.
Tino comes back.
Lindsay Collins, Pat Carrigan.
Tom Gilbert comes back.
Well, they've been playing Tom Gilbert on an edge at the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So Ruben Cotter, for me, is a great bench player.
That would be my bench, I think. I was looking at it last night.
You wouldn't start in NA? Jeez,
Well,
I'd be starting him.
Well, you got Ruben Cotter. I don't know about Felice Kafusi, whether he goes another year.
Ruben Cotter, he's one of those lightweight forwards. I think he's got to be in the middle.
Tom Gilbert, Fafita. Fafita's name
Dave
isn't there.
Fafita, yeah,
he's a handful.
Would you start Fafita, but he's more of a wind him up, get him off the bench. Ben Hunt's a certainty, 14. Yeah, I'd start Kalen. And I don't think you can carry Reece Walsh on the bench because Kalen certainly came on as a middle forward and nearly got man of the match in his debut. But really, who cares?
Exactly.
They're laughing at me and him up in Queensland.